Afternoon, folks. Welcome back to the Philosophy for Philistines channel with me, your not so reluctant prophet today, Bill Reimer. I'm not reluctant today because I'm confident of the topic on which I will be speaking, because I've done my research, and I do so prayerfully and thoughtfully using epistemology and ethics and ontology to come up with an argument free of name-calling. We live in a society besotted by state-sponsored doublethink, dedicated to holding two or more mutually exclusive beliefs simultaneously. This has created sufficient cognitive dissonance to drive people mad. An example of such is the result of allowing tens of thousands of people into the country who find homosexuality culturally and religiously abhorrent, only to lay the blame for homophobia on people who are politically conservative yet have no homophobic agenda. This doublespeak is a prerequisite used to further the cultural revolution which radical politicians who are dedicated to social engineering use to train the population to ignore the fact that their policies are contradictory while never achieving their promised outcomes. Since Trudeau openly admires China's basic dictatorship, while the level of CCP interference in our democracy is on full display, what makes anyone think Trudeau's disastrous economic and immigration policies aren't a deliberate attempt to destroy free market capitalism and the society it benefits? After all, it's a radical's job to run the economy into the ground so that he can declare the need for total totalitarian control of both the economy and of our social order. The fact that Trudeau cares nothing for the actual outcome of his failed policies, never investigates the root cause of said failures, and doubles down on the very costly policies which have repeatedly resulted in missing the mark is on full display for all to see. Is he foolish enough to think that no one will notice? Does he actually assume the public will remain willing to allow their taxes to be spent on his disastrous initiatives? Is he not aware that the only way for him and his kind to have become as wealthy as they are as a result of them misappropriating our tax dollars? So today, I hopped down too far. So today I'm making this vodcast about why these neo-totalitarians have censored me. This latest censoring has to do with me sharing the message that we are no longer allowed to post news articles to Facebook. So de facto, they've declared their own message as false. You literally cannot make this shit up. Let me be clear. I believe no one who claims they have some special wisdom that God gave to them alone so that only they may enlighten others is telling the truth. Anything I write or state can readily be understood by anyone who studies prayerfully, so that they may show themselves approved unto God. It is the rejection of the need for God which has resulted in this current narcissistic ideation. Nietzsche stated this clearly, namely, that since man had killed God, that man would need to become his own God in order to be worthy of this greatest of all crimes, theocide. Yet the Superman, or Übermensch, as Nietzsche referred to him, found that the task of creating a man-made value structure was impossible, as well as tyrannically murderous. So let us take the opportunity to have a discussion free of ad hominem attacks, tautology, name-calling, and mischaracterization, since "you are a stinky poo-poo head" is not an argument, nor is calling people right-wing when they are not, if your definition of such is likely to be based upon a logical fallacy. Let's examine that fallacy first. The left versus right political spectrum originated during the time of the French Revolution, as did many ideas which are French. As Dr. David Starkey put it, all bad ideas are French. It is an absolute principle of human existence. In the National Assembly, to the left of the king, sat those who believe that they have the right to veto the absolutist rule of their monarch, while to the king's right sat those who were invested in the absolute power of the executive branch of government led by the king. This definition, when logically applied to today, defines leftists as those who are highly suspicious of arbitrary state power and therefore believe that government should be limited in accordance. This makes every classical liberal, libertarian, and conservative a leftist. Those who believe in the right of the executive branch to ignore the wishes of the people and their representatives are therefore right-wing, which is why we have a right-wing neo-totalitarian government under Trudeau, propped up by the radical NDP led by Jagmeet Singh, that renowned champagne socialist who lives an entitled lifestyle few could even dream of, despite of his much vaunted claims of caring for the disenfranchised. Yes, Trudeau is in fact a right-wing authoritarian. Never in the history of the Dominion of Canada has one government so completely and successfully managed to further marginalize the already marginalized while indebting the nation for decades to come by creating economic policies based upon pure fiction and delusional ideation. Fascism, Nazism, Marxism, cultural Marxism, and postmodernism are variants on a theme which favor total state control under the banner of the needs of the many outweighing the rights of the few. It also goes without saying that these various forms of social collectivism compete with one another, murderously in fact. There's always been an attempt to build Babylon, the creation of an all-encompassing system that reaches unto heaven. Babylon invariably collapses into confusion as the men who attempt to build it become their own gods. This metaphorical story has been repeated down through the ages. In this age of digital artificial intelligence, the system will become even greater before it collapses due to the sheer power of the technology behind it. It is fascinating to note that all social collectivist ideologies devolve in a similar fashion when waging war with one another. All fascists, while waging war with one another, all fascists began as radical socialists, if not outright Marxists. Modern China more closely resembles a fascist state far more than it resembles anything that Marx and Engels wrote about. All forms of social collectivism are merely attempts to recreate the Tower of Babel, with man becoming his own god in control of an all-encompassing system which reaches unto heaven. All such systems are destined to the same fate as Babel, namely, to collapse in confusion, where people can no longer comprehend what one another is saying. In fact, I'd say we are almost there. Now let us examine the claims regarding cultural Marxist critical theory being a right-wing conspiracy. Critical theory derived social engineering is being taught in every major Western university today as viable political theory. I invite you to type the name of any university of your choosing along with critical theory into any search engine. You won't find one that is not teaching this philosophy, which originated from the Frankfurt School. Many social engineering radicals try to deny this, which I find especially telling, given the fact I do not believe that they are being genuine. I know most of these radicals are fully aware of these facts, since they were trained by radicals like Saul Alinsky and simply seek to muddy the waters by obfuscation and name-calling. Let's examine Saul's rules for radicals. The rules. Power is not only what you have, but what the enemy thinks you have. Never go outside the expertise of your people. Whenever possible, go outside the expertise of the enemy. Make the enemy live up to his own book of rules. Ridicule is man's most potent weapon. This one I find particularly damning because, of course, in a debate, you're not allowed to use logical fallacies. Gaslighting is not allowed. Logical fallacies are not allowed. And ridicule is a clear example of such. And finally, a good tactic is one your people enjoy. I think it is fascinating to note that all social collectivist ideologies devolve in a similar manner while waging war with one another. All fascists began as radical socialists, if not outright Marxists. Modern China resembles a fascist state far more than anything Marx and Engels ever wrote about. All forms of social collectivism are merely attempts to recreate the Tower of Babel, with man becoming his own God in control of an all-encompassing system which reaches unto heaven. All are destined to fail. The same failure as Babylon. The same fate as Babel, namely to collapse in confusion where people can no longer comprehend what one another is saying. I'd say we're almost there. But you can help defeat them by sharing my posts. And that will work against the algorithm that they're using to silence people who dare to speak the truth. These are things to think and pray about today as onward we go in this march against tyranny. God bless you and have a great day.